Hey everyone, so I'm on page 286. We're gonna do some homework problems together, give you a chance to try a couple as well on your own. All right, so let's look at number 4 together. We're gonna graph each of those inequalities. I'm gonna start by doing a graph for each one of those individually there. So I've got y is greater than negative 1/3 x plus 1. Because it's greater than, I'll do it dashed. I've got a slope of negative 1/3 and a y-intercept of 1. So start at my y-intercept 1, down 1/3, up, back, make a nice long line, draw it in dashed. Okay. Then for my second one, I'll use blue here. It's less than or equal to, so it's solid. My slope is 1/3. Y-intercept is -3. So I go to -3. On the y-axis, 1/3. Down 1 back. I can draw a solid line through that. Make sure, again, extend them out so you can get 4 total, like, obvious sections there. So I've got the top, which I'll call 1. Then the right, I'll call 2. The bottom, I'll call 3. And the left, I'll call 4. Okay, and then our job is to figure out which of the section is the one that's shaded. So we test our red line. We're going to test 0, 0. See if it's true. We got 0 for y is greater than negative 1/3 times 0 is 0 plus 1. So 0 is greater than 1. That is false. So if I look at that test point, I know any point on the same side as 0, 0 is false. 0, 0 is the wrong side. So I'm going to rule out section 4 and section 3. I crossed them off. Okay. So for the red line, I'm going to be shading above. You could also, if you like this method of shading, I can do that as well, where you kind of just do that, lightly shade. Then for the blue line, we test 0, 0, and I get 0 is less than -3, which is also false. So I know shading towards 0, 0 would be incorrect. So if I'm looking at the blue line, the 2 sections above the blue line are wrong. So I could cross off 4, cross off 1. And so for the blue line, I would be shading below it. So if you're doing this method, we could draw those lines like that. I crossed off 1, I crossed off 3, I crossed off 4. Means I'm left with section 2. You can also see that's where the shading overlapped. So I'm going to darken in that section there. That is my answer. Those are all the points that make both inequalities true. So now I would like you to pause the video and try problem 5 on your own. Okay, and then you're going to check your answer. So pause it, graph both of them. You should see shading, dashed or dotted, and then check your answer here. All right, check your answer here. You should check both lines, see if did you make both of yours dashed. Is your slopes correct, your y-intercepts, and then you should get those 4 sections, kind of the top left and top right, bottom left, bottom right, and ultimately the bottom section there, what I called section 3. You might have numbered them differently. That's okay. It's the location, the one that's sort of on the bottommost section. That's the one that should be shaded. All right, if you need more time looking at 5, pause it. Otherwise, we're going to move on here. Let's do 7 together. So on number 7 here, we've got a couple vertical lines, or vertical or horizontal lines. X is greater than -4. That is a vertical line. So I'm going to go to -4, draw it vertical. It's solid because it's or equal to. Now, with this one, let's just think for a second, because the shading is actually kind of nice with this one. For x is greater than or equal to -4, think about what it's saying. It's saying x is the bigger values. X has to be greater than -4. So if I'm at -4, is it right or left? Well, the right side of the line is where the x values that are bigger than -4 are. So with this one, I know I'm going to shade to the right. So here's another method some people like, is to draw just these like little arrows saying I'm going to shade to the right. I don't even really need a test point, but if I did, I'd say 0 is greater than or equal to -4, and I know that's true, so I'm going to shade towards 0, 0. Okay, I've got the y equals mx plus b there. Let's do that in blue. 4 is my y-intercept, down 3/2. Do that a few times. Up 3, backwards 2, up 3, backwards 2. So I gotta kind of be careful there. I'm crossing way up there. This one should be dashed. So draw a nice dashed line there. Okay, what if I test that one? 0 is less than 4. That's true. So with the blue line, I know I'm shading below it, towards 0, 0, because it's true. You shade towards the point you test if it was true. Okay, one more line here. Ooh, this one has 3. How about that? Y is greater than -5. This one's horizontal. So I go to -5 for y. This one's dashed because it's just greater than. Same thing. I mean, we could test. 0 is greater than -5, which is true. But just think about that. This is saying all the y values that are bigger than -5. Well, from that line, y values bigger than -5 would be above it. So I'm shading above this orange line. Well, if I'm right of the red, below the blue, above the orange, I have to shade in that kind of middle triangle there, right? And so we get this nice answer right here. That triangle is our answer. So if you have 3, sometimes you get a triangle shape. If you were going to number your sections, like I'm just going to draw a little visual of this here, right? This one's got a lot of sections. So it'd be a little bit harder to do the numbering because you'd need like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my gosh, 7 sections. But when we said to the right of the first line, I'd cross off 2, 1, and 7. And then when we said below the blue line, the second line, I'd cross off also 3 and 5. And then when I said above the orange line, I'd cross off 7, 6, and 5. And we're left with number 4. So that's how we come up with that answer if you did the numbering way. Okay, so before you try number 6, I want to kind of give you a quick reminder, like these ones are not in slope-intercept form. So the first thing I'm going to do is let you try getting them into slope-intercept form, compare with what I have, and then from there you can graph it on your own and then check your answer. So pause it, get it to slope-intercept form, and then check before you graph. Unpause it to check. All right, so first, did you get these two things here? Y is less than or equal to -2x plus 6. Y is greater than or equal to -2x minus 3. Here's your work over here. Then pause again and do your graph the lines. Notice, ooh, wow, they have the same slope. This might be interesting. So try graphing them, pause it, and then if you need to check your answer, unpause it. All right, this is kind of a fun one. We graph them, they're parallel. We find out that we would shade below the red line, so you would cross off section 3, we would find out we would shade above the blue line, so we would cross off section 1, which means we're left with only section 2 in the middle. And yeah, this one has 3 sections. Because they're parallel, we only have this like left, middle, and right. Or you could see we're shading below red but above blue, which means we're shading in the middle. Alright, we'll end it there. Make sure you've checked all these answers and hopefully you've got everything correct on your paper. Thanks.